What's going on, everyone? It is Wednesday, October 1st. I was about to say September, and you're watching the Hammer Daily here on the Hammer Betting Network presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, James Cooper, alongside Jacob Gramegna, who is behind the boards and watching some darts today.
Not right now.
Not right now?
I turn it off for the show.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate
Stay
that.
Professional for you, Jason.
I appreciate that. You were watching it before, and I was secretly watching along with you. We got a
Players Championship 29, big event.
big event, almost as big as the Ryder Cup, as some would.
Not even close, but still big.
All right, fair enough. Let's talk about the rundown on today's show. We have Mike coming on early. He's going to talk Mr. Peanutbettor, for those who don't know. He's going to talk some college football. We're going to take a look at the landscape of things. Pretty important week. Week 5 was in terms of jostling for position within conferences. So we're going to break down a couple conferences, talk about how those games play out, and discuss some games this week that will affect those conferences as well. Then Jack Miller from ETR, he's going to join the show. We're going to talk about some player props, player usage. If you're a fantasy player, this might help you out. If you're looking towards betting some player props for this weekend, you're going to want to tune into that just to see how usage shakes out. There's a couple guys hurt, couple new players in that might affect things. Dylan Gabriel starting for the Cleveland Browns. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, their snap shares start to come closer together. Their usage is close together. Is that going to repeat? Is that going to continue? Rashad White playing, does that mean he's going to get everything? Is Sean Tucker going to be a guy now? A lot of stuff to talk about there. And finally, to close out the show, we have Kirk Evans coming on. He's going to talk some WNBA. WNBA Finals starts this week. Great game last night. Aces Fever. Couldn't get a Cinderella story with the Fever, but the Aces, Fever tied it up late. I didn't really understand why they did. Anyway, so anybody watched the WNBA game. Fever tied it up with like 25 seconds left. They were very aggressive, pushing pace, and they gave the Aces the last possession in a tie game. I'm like, you probably shouldn't have done that, but whatever. It is what it is. They still ended up losing. Anyways, they forced overtime. That's the most important thing. It was an interesting game. I also want to get Kirk's thoughts on Nafessa Collier's. I don't know if you saw this, Jacob. Her calling out the WNBA brass, basically saying this is the worst management or worst leadership in the world. I mean,
I did see that.
Listen, maybe worst leadership in sports, but there's definitely some, there's probably some worse leaders out there.
Man, WNBA players have no fear in calling out refs in their organization. It's cool to see.
I know. I respect that. I just wonder if I don't know. We were getting some call outs earlier in the season. There wasn't the same sort of support. I'll just say that.
That's true.
So, anyways, I'm happy that Fee is doing this. Her nickname is Fee. I learned this recently. But yeah, it's good for the sport, I think, because I don't think that I don't think their league is run well. I think that's fair to say. And if the more people that bring it to light, the better it is for the league itself. Just a bad look though that you're calling out the refs the game after you lose. You have a controversial call.
You're not going to call it the refs after you win.
I know, that's fair. It's just slightly bad look, but also again, I agree with everything that she said. It seems like they're going about things the right way. The WNBA is. Anyways, before we bring on Mike, who is ready to go, he sent me most prepared he's ever been. So a lot of pressure on his shoulders. We have just want to quickly promote. We have a Circles Off question and answer coming up in a couple weeks. Circles Off is going to be doing a Q&A episode in the near future, and we want you to get your questions in. Anything regarding betting, could be strategy, could be things you're having difficulty with. Whatever the case is, we'll strive and to do our best to answer it. Here's how you get your questions in. Respond in the comment section on this YouTube video. So after the YouTube video, hit the comment section. If you're watching this after that, hit the comment section. Give us a question. We'll answer it. You can tweet it at us or DM us on Twitter at Circles Off HQ. And then you could also email us at circlesoff@thehammer.bet. And then finally, you can also post it in our Circles Off Q&A channel on Discord. You see it on the screen right now. Email at us, respond in the comments down below, tweet at us, or post in the Circles Off Discord. Expect to get a lot of questions. I think people really enjoy the Q&A episodes because they're
always so good.
They're good. If you have questions, you get them answered. Simple
the stuff that people want to hear about, they get to directly influence what they hear about.
Yeah, so you got to make the most of it. If you have questions, please do. I've ghost submitted questions. I'm not gonna lie, under some burners.
Have you ever gotten through?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Anyways, Let's talk about. Let's bring on Mike. He's you've seen him on Circle Back. He is not an NFL fan, as we learned last week, but he's a big college football bettor. Mr. Peanutbettor himself. Mike, how's it going?
Good, yeah. Came in more prepared this week because I had to make sure, even if I'm followed up by the most basic football fan who doesn't understand the sport, even they could understand what's going on. So tried to make sure I was more prepared this week.
I like it. I'm like a head coach here. I'm getting other players to light a fire under your ass. Me and Jeff Nadeau were talking behind the scenes. We're impressed with how big and how much more committed you've been for this. But segment hasn't started yet, so we'll save our compliments till after that. Let's start with last week. Pretty big game, Alabama, Georgia. Alabama pulls out a win. Massive for the SEC. Changes the sort of landscape for the SEC. Let's take a look at their odds right now. Alabama current favorites plus 250 to win the SEC. Then you have Texas plus 290. Then a steep cliff. Georgia plus 650. Ole Miss plus 700. Texas A&M plus 950. So a lot of jostling for position in the SEC. Who do you feel like is most likely to win? Given the odds right now, obviously we know that Alabama and Texas are most likely to win, but like it's an open championship right now. It's an open conference. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think you could say probably maybe 6 or 7 different teams could win in the SEC, and that's certainly been the first time I can say that since I've been watching. Obviously, Oklahoma and Texas adding to the conference adds in 2 more contenders, but it's just really wide open. If you went Tennessee, Oklahoma, Missouri, LSU, are you completely shocked if those teams win the SEC? I wouldn't be. So I think that Alabama is most likely just based on the schedule that they have kind of moving forward. Texas also has a pretty easy schedule, but in terms of quality of team, I think that there's probably, 5-6 teams that are all within a touchdown of each other and could realistically win the conference.
Yeah, it's a super tight conference. We talked about that with Corby here on the show on Monday, which if we have time to, we'll get to a little bit later because I want to get your thoughts on this. But let's flip over and talk some games in the SEC this week. Texas facing off against Florida, 6.5-point favorites on the road. Minus 122. Maybe we could see a 7 in this game. Totals at 41.5. Any opinions on this game? Who with kind of like both teams being slight disappointments this year?
Yeah, it's certainly taken some money on the under, and there's been just kind of disappointment around both quarterbacks. So it will be interesting to see. Both guys are extremely talented. If either one is able to kind of break out of that slump, there is some reason to think that coming off of the bye, Lagway's been banged up. That entire offense has been really hurt all season. They never have kind of had a training camp with guys healthy. So there's some reason to believe in Florida's upside on that end. On the other end, it's just looked so bad. And obviously Arch has the pedigree. I still think that he's a talented quarterback. He hasn't played great so far, but it's not too hard to imagine him turning it around also. So I think that both these offenses have underperformed, but both still have a pretty high ceiling on them.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some more SEC games, a little bit ones that are kind of like second tier, but should be interesting games to watch regardless. Vanderbilt taking on Alabama. Alabama 10.5-point favorites here. 55.5 is the total, even both ways. Minus 110 both ways, excuse me. And then there's also a couple other games in the SEC that we should talk about. Mississippi State versus Texas A&M. Are you interested in either of these games from a betting perspective? I'm sure you are in terms of how the SEC will shake out. But any interest betting wise in these games?
Yeah, I think that both these games are something where, I think that on one end you're going to see Vanderbilt try to shorten the game and make this as few possessions as possible. They understand the talent gap between them and Alabama just as far as rosters on the field. So how does that lack of possessions, how does that affect things live? I think that's something that you can look for and kind of see, how they're playing the game, and certain game states are going to react differently live for that one. And then Mississippi State versus Texas A&M. Mississippi State's a team that likes to play tempo. How does that change if they get in an unexpected lead? Some different total stuff you can do there just kind of based on game script. I think that both those games are going to be pretty interesting based on the tempo. You couldn't have different strategies when you're talking about Vanderbilt or Mississippi State.
All right. For a layman like me, who's kind of an idiot, explain, like, give me a little bit more in depth of how I would approach this mid game. So I'm seeing Mississippi State kind of pick the game up. I want to be betting the over here. What's the case?
Sure. So right now, kind of the game expectation is that Vanderbilt will be trailing most of the game. They're a slow-paced team. So even if you're a slow-paced team, when you're trailing, you're going to play at a faster pace. If they are able to get into the lead somehow, I would expect them to really milk the clock in the second half and try to slow things down to the greatest extent possible. So it's something where if, the expected game state is that they'll speed up, Alabama will slow down a little bit. So you can kind of, based on the expectations of what they're going to do, if you see something that isn't in what the normal game script would be based on a pretty, double-digit spread in both instances, that's a situation where you can look to kind of play against what the tempo adjustment will be.
All right, I appreciate that. And usually on FanDuel, you can SGP this stuff as well. So might be able to get some good looks in there. Plus, obviously, these live lines are, like you mentioned, derivatives of these pregame expectations, of these pregame lines. So once the things go off script and you see something that's massive off script where Vanderbilt's winning, we can take advantage of that super easily. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that one because I'm kind of an idiot and I need you to explain things simpler for me. Hopefully the chat got that as well. Oregon at versus Penn State last week. I mean, shocker. I really thought Penn State was going to win that game. Oregon ends up squeezing it out 30-24 in overtime. Big, again, same thing as the SEC, big movement in the Big Ten as a result of this. Penn State still has like a pretty tough schedule. They have OSU, Indiana left on the schedule. They have to win one of those to make the playoffs probably and for a chance at the Big Ten. What are your thoughts on Penn State moving forward here?
To have a realistic shot at the Big Ten title, they'll have to win both games, I think, because Ohio State will hold the tiebreaker over them if they lose that game. So with one loss, not holding either tiebreaker to Oregon, with two losses, not holding the tiebreaker to Ohio State or Oregon, it's going to be a pretty tough road. With two losses, my guess is that they get in. Last year, we saw a Indiana team with only one loss really kind of be on the bubble for longer than you would expect. I do think last year was kind of an outlier in terms of teams that were in that 11 range, kind of fringe playoff contenders. If you go back and look at years before that, the criteria to make the playoffs would have been much easier. So I think last year's Indiana team was close to being left out of the playoffs more by circumstance than they were actual typical quality that you would expect. So with two losses, Penn State will probably get in, especially with their preseason ranking and how talented they are. With more than that, I would say, three losses, it's going to be pretty tough just based on the lack of other quality wins on the schedule.
Of course, very tough for them. And we kind of talked about that in the playoff predictions we did with Corby earlier in the week. Quickly, I want to pull that up in just a second. Just before that, I want to get your thoughts on Ohio State versus Oregon as the best team in the country if you had to pick between the two. I'm still on Team Ohio State as the best team in the country. I think, again, they won the national championship last year. Strong recruiting class, very little turnover. There's no reason for me why I feel like they shouldn't be the best team. But Oregon is putting out the product on the field that's saying they should be the best team in the country. So where do you lie in this debate?
I think that Oregon has played the best year to date. And if you were saying, who has been the best team so far this season, it has to be Oregon. But if you ask me who do I think is going to win if they played a game tomorrow, I still would probably go with Ohio State just based on how well that defense is playing. The offense hasn't really come out of its shell yet. I think that a lot of that was they felt confident in what the defense could do early on. Versus Washington, they really didn't have a lot of possessions early in that game because of the fumble and a couple others, fluke situations. So I think that Ohio State still has another gear offensively that they still can reach based on the guys on the outside and Sayin kind of stepping into his own. So I think Ohio State has a higher ceiling, but right now Oregon's probably playing better football. Yeah,
I think that's a fair debate. Great way to dodge the actual question itself, though. You didn't really give an answer, but that's
I know how to sit on a post.
There we go. That's how to do things. That's how we do things. Let's bring up the playoff predictions we have here because I want to get your opinion on things. Let's see which one we get up here first. We can let's bring up Corby's first. Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, Ole Miss, Penn State, Texas Tech, Indiana, Texas, Utah, Texas A&M, Georgia Tech, and Memphis. That was Corby's. Any team you feel like he left off that you feel like should have made it? Any team that you feel like he had on that shouldn't have made it? And what's your rating out of 10 for this absolutely silly exercise to do, but we're having fun with it?
Yeah, I'll give them a 7 out of 10. I don't really think Memphis is the best team in the G5.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, picking the G5 team is kind of a crapshoot. Yeah. It's pretty lucky, based on who gets the one big win, everything like that at the end of the year. And I'm not a big Ole Miss guy. I think that, LSU struggles in that game were more a result of LSU than they were Ole Miss. But we'll see. They've been certainly outplayed my expectations so far this year. So maybe I'm just wrong on them overall.
All right, 7 out of 10 for Corby. Let's bring up mine if you can right now, Jacob. I had Ohio State, Ole Miss, Miami, and Arizona all winning their conference. Arizona State, all winning their conference. Oregon, Indiana, Alabama, Texas A&M, Florida State, Texas Tech, and USF. Notice I'm in agreement with you here, Peanutbettor. I left Penn State out because I don't know if they're going to get that win they need against Ohio State, or who was the other team? I think it was Indiana. Yeah, Ohio State or Indiana. Give me your thoughts on mine, rated out of 10.
2 out of 10. Have you ever watched the sport before? I'm not sure what I was looking at there. We got Arizona State. They've looked like trash to begin the year. I don't know why you would ever pick them. Picking Penn State to miss it is a mistake. Indiana's going to lose to Penn State, so I don't see how you could get there. Florida State, they have to win this game or they're going to be eliminated versus Miami. So I don't understand how Miami's getting in and they're getting in. I couldn't come up with a worse list if I tried.
All right, well, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Anyways, let's flip over and talk about this week's game. Oh, my God. Let's see. We have Miami taking on Florida State this week, which you just mentioned, one of the biggest games of the week. You said Florida State needs to win to have a shot at the ACC or the playoffs. So, I mean, break down this game for us here. I'm guessing you don't think Florida State has a chance in this one.
I actually thought the playoff list was fine, other than I do think Florida State really has to kind of win this game in order to have a chance. Otherwise, there's no way that they're going to be playing in the ACC title game, or at least the chance is very low just based on Georgia Tech's remaining schedule, Virginia's remaining schedule, and the fact Virginia has a tiebreaker on them. So I think that if they don't win this game, they really don't have a shot at getting to the ACC title game. They'll have 2 losses, one of which is very bad. The win versus Bama holds up a lot, but I'm not sure how many teams the ACC is going to get in. I think 2 is their max. If they get Notre Dame, which is kind of like a half an ACC team based on the schedule, I think that it's going to be tough for them to get Notre Dame, Miami, and a third Florida State team in. So for Florida State to kind of cement their resume, this has to be the game that they win.
Okay, wow. I like that. Very, very bold there. I thought, personally, if I could just break down what I thought was happening here, is I had this Miami baked in as a loss. I looked at the rest of Florida State's schedule. I thought it was easy enough for them to win out, and I thought maybe the Alabama win would hold its own and give them enough credit with the committee to get that spot in the college football playoffs. Games at 4.5 right now. Totals at 53.5. Miami, Florida. Obviously, Miami favored on the road. Any opinion on the side or total here?
No comment on the side right now, but I would say that I would lean towards the under in this game just based on what I've seen from Miami so far. When they get into a lead or anything like that, they're going to slow down, try to grind the game to a halt. Florida State obviously will also have that strategy, so you're baking in a faster tempo for them. Normally, if they get in the lead, they're going to slow down. I don't know how much faster Miami can go, so I think that I would probably lean under just based on I think the second half's going to really slow down.
Okay.
But obviously, we could see a big play from Tommy Sear too. All
right, we have a couple more games that we're going to try and get through as quickly as possible here. Notre Dame playing Boise State. Notre Dame, both Corby and I had them missing the playoffs here. They have 2 losses now. I mean, if they lose another game, it's basically done for them. But this is probably one of their hardest games remaining on the schedule, other than USC, maybe the hardest other than USC, and they're 20.5 point favorites in this game. So, any opinion here?
Yeah, I think they're going to try to pour it on. I think that if you're Notre Dame and you don't play anybody that's going to be a name that people will recognize until USC at the end of the season, I would be trying to put up as every single point that I could on this team and kind of leave an impression in case I have 2 losses and compare with somebody else. So, that's another situation. Maybe you could watch live and see if Notre Dame it's not really Notre Dame style to kind of run it up, but whatever baked in adjustments you might have for a team slowing down when up, maybe that's a little bit less so for Notre Dame based on the resume they need to put together.
All right. That makes sense. Perfect here. And last question. Do you think any Big Ten or SEC team besides Miami will have a shot at the Natty? Or how about this? Just make it to the Natty game? Because, of course, the odds are stacked against them. Usually we see, like, between the ACC and the Big 12, we see, like, maybe 7, 8 teams make it between those two. So, obviously, the odds out the gate are stacked against them, plus the Power 5 team, or Group of 5 team, sorry. Do you think there's a chance that any of them can make the finals there, or is it tough sledding?
I think that Texas Tech probably has the most talented one of the power conferences other than a few of the ACC teams. But I think that Texas Tech has the most talented Big 12 conference we've seen in a decent bit, just based on the guys that they have along the lines of scrimmage. They brought in a lot of guys with the transfer portal and kind of paid up to get an elite class on that end, which has kind of been missing from their roster the past few years. So they have a pretty good quarterback. They have an explosive offense that moves at tempo. And now they finally got some guys along the line of scrimmage that I think can be difference makers. So they would be the team that I think has the highest ceiling kind of outside of SEC, Big Ten, and then Miami, of course.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great answer. Corby said the same thing as well, Texas Tech, in terms of potentially them making the Natty or winning the Natty outside of like the bigger teams. Let's get some new blood in there like we were talking about on Monday. Texas Tech right now on FanDuel. 22-1. You guys are making me really want to click that. 22-1. All right, Peanutbettor, I appreciate you coming on. Listen, you gave me a 2 out of 10 for my playoff prediction. I didn't appreciate that, but I'm going to still give you a 10 out of 10 for this segment. You brought the heat, and we appreciate it. Matt, Mr. Peanutbettor on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Hopefully Jack doesn't rip me after this segment ends. So.
I'll make sure he doesn't, or maybe I'll make sure he does. I don't know. You'll have to just tune in and find out. Appreciate you, Mike. That was a great segment from Mr. Peanutbettor. Let's put a 10 in the chat. We usually do 1s in the chat to shut out the guests, but let's put a 10 in the chat because I feel like Peanutbettor brought the heat. Mike brought the heat this week. Of course, got to give a shout out to our sponsors over at FanDuel because what will we be without them? The NFL is back, and if you're betting on FanDuel this season, here's some things to keep in mind. Number 1, celebrate your wins. Whether you have a same-game parlay that has 2 legs or 10 legs, make sure you use your legs to celebrate appropriately. Number 2, no kickoff, no problem. Live betting means the next play could be your play. And then number 3, if you're a new customer, bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. And now you're ready to play your game on FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to download the app today and get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. Please play responsibly for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino or 18 plus and present in DC. 19 plus and physically located in Ontario, 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus is issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call Connex Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 or visit connexontario.ca. All right, let me catch my breath here for a second. Holy jeez. Let's get Jack Miller on. He's a sports bettor, NFL, fantasy, betting, and projections over for ETR. You can follow him on Twitter at JackMiller02. Jack, how's it going today?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on. Good to be here.
Yeah, excited to talk player usage, not player injuries. Obviously, never want to see a guy get hurt, but obviously injuries happen in the NFL. A lot of moving parts. So, yeah, excited to get right into this stuff. Let's start with last week. We saw Jackson Dart come in, replace Russell Wilson. He looked pretty good. New York Giants ended up winning the game. My question for you is now this week we have Dylan Gabriel coming in, starting for the Browns, replacing Joe Flacco. Curious how you approach these sort of situations where we have quarterbacks coming in these new situations where we've never seen them before. Essentially rookies coming out of college. How do you project this stuff out? Is it just like a wide range of outcomes, or what's your process sort of like for this?
Yeah, from a target share standpoint, we don't make many like glaring changes from how we were projecting it with Flacco until we see what the Browns are actually going to do. I did see right before I hopped on here that Gabriel was hyping up Jerry Jeudy, and with Cedric Tillman out, it makes sense that they try to get him more involved. But generally, I know there's a narrative that rookie quarterbacks like to throw to tight ends and running backs more. Our data hasn't completely shown that to be true across the board, and so we don't make that assumption until we actually see it. So in terms of how we project like volume distribution from Flacco to Gabriel, it's not that different. But if we see in week 5 that Gabriel did have a massive tight end target share, a massive running back target share, that's something that we will more aggressively adjust on than we normally would going into week 6.
Yeah, and a lot of question marks for this Cleveland offense. Something you're going to want to keep an eye on at 9:30 in the morning. Isaiah Bond's been playing a lot in the slot. Harold Fannin and David Njoku kind of been splitting back and forth. It seems like Fannon's one out, right? But how much 12 personnel usage are they going to use? Something to keep an eye on for future weeks. Let's flip over and talk. We talked about the New York Giants game. Tough injury there. Sad to see. Malik Neighbors, one of my favorite players to watch, the MetLife Turf Monster, grabs another victim. Torn ACL, out for the season. Might be out for a little bit of next year as well. A lot of shakeup here with the Giants offense, obviously with Cam Scatterbo and Jackson Dart coming in the fold. Now we have completely new wide receivers we got to look at, who we want to target. Wan'Dale Robinson's there. Darius Slayton's there. We saw Wan'Dale Robinson run a bunch of deep routes, but last game he was kind of used in short yardage situation. Darius Slayton, obviously, Theo Johnson, and then 2 guys, Bo Collins, Jalen Hyatt. Like, who's going to be the guy here? Like, what do you expect to see happen?
Yeah, I think Wan'Dale's a pretty safe bet to be the target leader here, just because he's earned targets before. And I think it's particularly interesting this year because, like you said, we've seen him get a few more downfield targets than really he's ever gotten in his career. His average depth of target on a week-to-week basis has kind of been all over the place. In week 1, it was 3.3, week 2, 16.7, week 3 on only 4 targets. It got all the way up to 21.3, and then last week it was back down to 0.8. In the aggregate, he has a 10.4 ADOT through the first 4 weeks of the season. That's much better than it was last year, 5.1. His career high in a single season going into this year was 6.1. Obviously, that's over a 16 or 17 game sample, and it's easier to have statistical outliers in only 4 games. But we haven't really seen him have even single game ADOTs like he had in week 2 and 3. So I think it's good that they're willing to use him downfield. Beyond him, I think Slayton is the other obvious beneficiary. In 2 games without Neighbors last year, he had 28% and 32% target shares. This past week, I think he was at 19% target share. So he's at least shown the ability to earn targets at a high rate before, and without Neighbors, I think it's a pretty big boost to him. Bo Collins and Hyatt, I kind of think, are just going to be in pretty low volume roles. I mean, they're going to be splitting the wide receiver 3 role, it looks like, at least based on what the Giants did once Neighbors left in week 4. So I don't really expect much from either of them. I think it's a boost to Theo Johnson as well. He had a big target share last week without Neighbors, but I think mostly Wan'Dale and Slayton are going to inherit bigger roles.
All right. Wan'Dale and Slayton seem to be those guys in that offense right there. Let's flip over and talk some more injury news. Bucky Irving spotted in a walking boot. Seems like he's going to be week to week. They don't seem too stressed about the injury, but like when a guy has a walking boot, probably like make me a little nervous. They also said week to week, which is never good. Seems like Rachaad White is going to be their guy. Sean Tucker is really the only other viable running back on that team. Often plays special teams. We see Bucky Irving in the past couple weeks sit in that mixed mid-60s range for his rushing yards total. Excuse me. Do you think Rachaad White could come in somewhere similar, although they have a pretty tough matchup this week?
Yeah, I think he'll come in lower. Like you said, they're 3.5 point underdogs at Seattle, and Seattle, the defense there is obviously really good. I do think Rachaad White is going to be a pretty heavy favorite to lead the backfield in carries, but I do think Sean Tucker will have some involvement. I don't think they want Rachaad White playing 90% of snaps all of a sudden. Based on the fact that Sean Tucker has played, I think, 3 snaps all season and only has 1 carry, I think it's reasonable to expect White to shoulder the majority of the load, but I think it's in the air exactly what that carry distribution looks like. Our full projections for Sunday aren't totally done yet, but even so, like in a spot like this, it's kind of more of an educated guess than like an exact science on what the projection for Rachaad White will be. If I go to like 2 to 1 carries ratio on White to Tucker, we're roughly in the low 60s.
All right. So about if we see that prop come in at around that low 60s, you know it's about right. Maybe if it's a little lower, you want to take the over. If it's a little higher, you might consider taking the under. We'll see when that gets posted over on FanDuel. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins played Monday Night Football. We finally saw Harvey kind of get closer to J.K. Dobbins in terms of snap share and usage. Harvey was getting the red zone looks, but, of course, Bengals, not a great team. It was a bit of a blowout. Could have contributed to RJ Harvey's usage down the stretch. Do you think as the year goes on in the next couple of weeks, what we saw in that Monday Night Football game is going to become more of the normal where RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are a lot closer together? Or do you think when you see the Broncos play in more of a tighter game, you're going to see J.K. Dobbins taking a majority of the usage?
I think this game's going to tell us a lot.
Okay.
I think it's kind of hard to tell when the Broncos were 7.5-point home dogs to Jake Browning. I will say it was pretty encouraging that Harvey outcarried Dobbins. I think it was 7-5 in the first half. Dobbins obviously ended up with more carries, but Harvey did even have the carries lead in the first half. The thing about Dobbins is he's ran so well that he hasn't really given Denver any reason to tilt more work toward the rookie. I do think Denver wants to give Harvey more work at some point, but I think the like overtaking maybe that we expected in the preseason where Harvey eventually just straight up beats out Dobbins and becomes the clear RB1. I think it can happen as long as Dobbins is running this efficiently.
Yeah, he's looked really good in doing so. It's tough. It's tough to sit a veteran who, I mean, we get J.K. Dobbins has had the injury history before, but he's looked great in his role for the Denver Broncos behind a really sick offensive line. Both have looked good, honestly, which is kind of the most frustrating things for fantasy owners and prop bettors alike. Couple more questions here. Egbuka is the number one in Tampa Bay. He looks absolutely incredible. He'll probably be the best wide receiver in this class, and that's saying a lot because McMillan also looks really good. But I'm super high on Egbuka. I think he's great in Tampa Bay. The thing is, the question I have right now, he's certified. He's cemented himself as the guy who's leading the team in targets for this week probably, and in the next couple weeks. But in the next 4 weeks, we're going to have guys like Jalen McMillan back. We're going to have Mike Evans back. The offensive line is going to get healthier. Chris Godwin, who most likely was rushed back due to the depleted wide receivers on this Tampa Bay team, probably going to get healthier. So do you think Emeka Egbuka in 4 weeks has done enough to kind of cement himself as the bona fide number one target getter in this offense when everyone is back and everyone is healthy?
I don't think he'll be the bona fide wide receiver one. I think it'll be pretty close up top between Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka.
Okay.
I was honestly really surprised at how much work they gave Godwin immediately. He ran around on 88% of the Buccaneers dropbacks and matched Egbuka with a 26% target share. He wasn't very efficient on those targets, and I think that's a fair critique for someone who's an older wide receiver coming off such a serious injury. Can he get back to the player that he was before? Plus, they played him primarily on the outside, where historically he's been more successful in the slot. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. But I don't think, I mean, Evans's lowest single game target share so far this year is 25%. He was still earning targets at a really high clip. So I think between Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka, there's not going to be a real alpha target earning wide receiver one.
We're just going to see a lot of splitting the ball down the stretch as well. Also depends on how long Bucky Irving's out for, who they love to use in the screen game as well. Maybe that just goes straight to Rachaad White, like we talked about a little bit earlier, or maybe we see maybe we see Egbuka, Godwin get worked in more in terms of the screen game. Let's flip over. Let's talk Thursday night football. Anything you like in particular in that game? I know not all the lines are posted right now, not all the props are out, but is there anything you're looking towards or circling to bet for that Thursday night football game, the Niners versus the Rams?
Yeah, this is kind of a boring answer, but we don't really show anything that meets the standards we have to put something out. We have small unders on both Whittington and Tutu Atwell receiving yards. The numbers are really low. I think it's 9.5 for Tutu and 13.5 for Whittington. But the target share is so condensed there. We do have Higbee in, so that could alter things a little bit if he's out. He hasn't practiced so far this week. He didn't practice on Friday and still played in week 4, so we'll kind of see what happens there. And then on the Niners side, there's just so much uncertainty. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Seems like Purdy's not very healthy. Pearsall seems like he's trending out. Juwan Jennings seems like he's trending in, but a lot to be sorted out on that side.
Yeah, tough to look at here. I know there's a lot of questions. Well, I'm going to ask you this one. It seems like you have Higbee starting this week. But if he doesn't, I'm looking at FanDuel. I'm looking at Colby Parkinson. Right now, he's 9-1 to score a touchdown, 80-1 to score the first touchdown. Obviously, that comes down if he's ruled in. What number would you need to kind of take a risk, take a flyer on the fact that Higbee might not play and Colby Parkinson, is the one to score a touchdown in this offense? Is that 9-1 anytime touchdown juicy enough for you, or would you need a little bit more?
To be totally honest, I haven't read enough about Higbee's injury status. I would need to see. I would need to look more into that and see if he's closer to playing or closer to not playing. So I really don't know on the Parkinson touchdown. Obviously, it's good if Higbee's out. All I've seen so far is just back-to-back DMPs, but I haven't looked into like coaching quotes on whether he's actually trending in the right or wrong direction.
All right, low risk tolerance there. I respect it. Obviously, you want to do your own research. Before I let you go here, anything you're looking forward to this week in terms of the NFL, player usage-wise, or question marks you have for certain positional groupings that you feel like you'll get answered that we haven't covered yet so far?
Let's see. Nothing honestly jumps off the page to me. I am excited to see like Woody Marks hopefully continue to grab a hold of that Texans backfield. This is not a betting take, but I just have a good amount of Woody Marks in best ball. And so it was really good to see him distance himself from Nick Chubb. The coaching quotes have all been positive on seeing. I think D'Amico Ryan's the exact quote was, "I'm excited to see how much he can handle." So it definitely seems like an even bigger workload is potentially on the horizon for Woody Marks. So I'm pretty bullish there.
All right, that could be exciting. And then last thing I want to ask you about before you head out here, we've seen, this is kind of gross, gritty, but like last year on our live streams, we did a lot of like betting on the Buffalo Bills backup running backs. Won a good amount on Ray Davis as a last TD scorer in these big spread games for the Bills. Bills have the easiest schedule in the NFL right now. Pretty easy matchups throughout the season. They're massive favorites against the New England Patriots this week. It looks like Ty Johnson has kind of been used more than Ray Davis this year. Is that someone you would consider more instead of Ray Davis? Let's say their numbers are even to score a touchdown or the last touchdown. Would you consider Ty Johnson more than Ray Davis as we've seen this year play out?
Yeah, the last 2 weeks for sure, it's been Ty Johnson over Ray Davis. Ty Johnson has always been the pass down back there, but the past 2 weeks he's out-snapped Ray Davis even on early downs. It seems like he's winning out as James Cook's direct backup. The only caveat there is that Joe Brady had a quote over the past couple of days saying they need to be smart with James Cook's workload and they need to make sure that he's healthy for December and January. And then he singled out Ray Davis as someone they need to get more involved. So we'll see if they make good on that. The past couple of weeks, it has been Ty Johnson, but based on the coach quotes, I kind of think it could potentially swing back a little more in Ray Davis' favor moving forward.
All right, this is why we bring people like you on. You guys have your nose to the ground, ear to the ground, listening for every single quote that you can. I obviously didn't hear that, but yeah, chat heard it as well. Appreciate that. Jack, you can follow Jack Miller on Twitter at JackMiller02. Maybe it's JackMiller02. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk soon.
For sure, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right, see you. That was Jack Miller. Good stuff there. Love talking NFL. Nothing I like more than that. Another guy who likes talking NFL. One of the biggest names on Twitter. GRP. He retired. He unretired. He retired. Unretired. What's he going to do next? I couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you is how much he loves Ham Off the Bone for the finale of the GRP series. We have a clip for you guys. It's a little special sneak peek. Jacob, if you want to roll it, we can.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Perry. Here, guys, the owner makes your food. Okay, guys, this is the famous Ham Off the Bone. Look at that. You see the little fat on the edges, the little veins? That's big time. Now, look at the hash browns, crispy on the outside, in the sea of the middle. They've never been frozen. This is a real potato. This is real stuff here, guys. Real hash browns. You can tell the difference. Look at that. Look at the veins.
I'm honored, George. I'm honored.
Beautiful.
I'm honored.
Beautiful.
I will say, I was there. I tried the Ham Off the Bone sandwich. It was good. It was actually relatively good for a breakfast sandwich. If you're ever in Rosemont, I don't even know where it is. I can't even remember what the name of the diner is. I'll look it up for you guys. But yeah,
they can just watch the video.
Watch the video. There you go. There you go, and you'll find. and you'll find out where it is
on this channel.
On this channel, you can find it. Do we have a time for it to go live today?
No. I don't, at least.
Maybe. Here's the thing. I don't know when it's going to go live, but you know what I have on so I'll be notified right when it goes live? Sub notifications. You subscribe to this channel, you turn on the notification bell, bang, right to your phone.
Doesn't matter what time it comes out. You have the notifications on. I do not have the time, by the way.
That's all right. I have the notifications on, so it doesn't matter anyways. And why don't you have the notifications
5
on?
p.m.
There we go.
George and chat.
George, 5 p.m. Appreciate that. But still, have the notifications on. Also, we're only at 13 likes. Let's get those like numbers up. I have another little something for you guys if we hit 25 likes for the Thursday Night Football game. We were 0-2 yesterday. I gave out 2 first inning overs of the 1.5 plus 340. We were close on the Dodgers Reds one. Ohtani hit a dinger. There was 2 on, 2 out for the Dodgers. Couldn't get anyone home though. Tough sledding. We'll try again next week or this week. To try again today. Well, depends on if we can get enough likes. All right. Let's close out the show with some WNBA stuff, some NBA stuff from our good friend. He's a seasoned basketball bettor. You've seen him on Circle Back live on the Monday show. And he seems like he's doing okay. Maybe he's a little hungry after watching that GRP video. Kirk, how's it going?
Going good. I'm starving.
You're starving. I'm starving for picks. So let's talk a little bit about that. No, I'm kidding. I actually am a little hungry though after watching that video. Kirk, before we get started, number one, make sure you're on the right microphone input because it sounds like you might be off. Number two, sorry, take your time. Quick thoughts on. I texted you about this. The Nafessa Collier calling out the WNBA brass. She gave a 5-minute exit interview, basically calling everyone out, saying that we have the worst leadership in the world. Probably has the worst leadership in sports. Give me something spicy. What do you make of this? Is this like a bad look for the WNBA in terms of the players calling out the brass and the referees? Is this a bad look on the WNBA organization itself for not responding to their players? Or is this just like a bad look on everyone? What do you make of this?
First off, how's my audio?
It's fine. We'll just dig through it.
We're dealing with it.
Yeah,
my fucking computer, when I'm on before, looks good. When I come on the show, for whatever reason, it always fucks up.
It's fine.
But I don't think it's bad luck for the players at all, if I'm being honest. I think it's a horrible look for the league. Nafessa Collier is as we'd say in the sports world or in the sports betting world, sharp. Like, she's just really fucking on it. She started her own league that seems to be doing very well. This was very premeditated and something that was very much built up. So I think that they went to a lot of options before this. I've been saying this, and I said this to you. I think it's hard to know because I'm not in those conversations, so I don't know anything about the WNBA commissioner, like, personally. But I'm pretty confident that if they were willing to go to this, it's really bad. So I think it's a bad look for the commissioner. She's going to get fired, I think. But I back Nafessa.
All right. Love it. Back fee here. As majority of people are, and I think rightfully so, because it's just sad to see all these players getting hurt. Like, there should be a better pipeline for referees. I don't know how they're not getting guys from the NBA to ref the games. Anyways.
Yeah. I think also a big thing is that in the NBA, each ref gets rated after each game. There's no accountability like that in the WNBA. Look, to be fair, the WNBA is a much smaller league. They have a much smaller budget. I imagine that's a pretty expensive endeavor. But that being said, I think it's been a complaint for a long time amongst players, and it just sounds like they don't really deal with it at all. So it makes sense to me that the frustration high, the CBA negotiations are bad. The thing I really hope is that there's not a lockout, but I think it's very live that there will be a lockout next season.
All right, hopefully we can get FanDuel to post a prop on that. Speaking of FanDuel, we have a WNBA Finals. Quickly, what did you make of that Aces Fever game? I know you wanted the Fever to win a little bit there. I know you didn't really have a bet on it because I asked you for one yesterday. How did you make of that end of that game? Anywhere you saw anything that you saw went wrong for the Fever? I know Aaliyah Boston maybe fouling out might have hurt them in overtime. Didn't really make sense to me why they didn't try and keep the final possession of that game when they went for a quick 2 to tie the game. Anyways, any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I do agree with you in terms of that final possession. The only thing is Asia went for that steal. So when you're in that spot and it's a 5-on-4, like I totally understand Odyssey Sims going for that shot, despite they were so undermanned. That's really what went wrong. Aaliyah Boston fouled out, and Kelsey Mitchell had that really tough cramping issue, it looked like, and was out for the game. It was really brutal. So I tweeted this. It was one of the guttiest performances I've ever seen from a team. It was just unbelievably impressive. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Felt like Vegas would just pull away, and Indy just never would give up. Man, it would be nice if Indy won that game for me, but just because Phoenix would be priced like minus 800 in the finals versus like plus 108. It's at FanDuel, but yeah, it was an unbelievable watch, and I'm excited for the finals.
All right, let's talk about the finals then. Aces right now minus 126 to win the finals. Like you mentioned, Mercury plus 108. If we take a look at the first game, Aces are at home, minus 3.5 point favorites. Slight juice towards the Mercury, though, at the plus 3.5. Totals at 159.5, juiced over. Give me a breakdown of this series, and give me a breakdown of this. Let's break down the series first, then we can break down this first game.
Absolutely. So it's a very, very interesting WNBA finals. I would say we don't have, an amazing feel for either of these teams like you normally would for two finals teams. Vegas for the first half of the season was really bad. They were like 500, nearly out of the playoffs. They lost by 50 to Minnesota and then ripped off a 16-game winning streak where Asia was just by far the best player in the world. And then now they've played pretty weak competition in the playoffs. Seattle was a good team who just never really materialized all year. And then they played the Fever without Caitlin, without so many depth pieces, with a lot of WNBA journeymen. To be fair to that Fever team, they did beat Atlanta, who was another good team. But, Vegas was very close to being eliminated. Teams had the ball in their hands in both series to eliminate this team. Like Seattle missed a shot to win the series, and Indy, like we talked about, could have taken a last shot three to win that series. So it's hard for me to really upgrade this Vegas team with this playoff performance. They have a lot of weak links that I think Phoenix will really be able to take advantage of. They start a player who plays 6 minutes a game in Kristen Bell, who's just really weak. She's just not a good WNBA player at all. They bring in Megan Gustafson off the bench, who's playing significant minutes. She's like pretty journeyman, very okay big. Chelsea Gray has really fallen off from her. She was like an all W level player, and now has just gotten old, has some injuries. She hurt her ankle last game. She should be fine, but it could swell up on her a bit in the coming days. And she's already really limited mobility-wise, so I think she could have some trouble in this series as well. They're really just a two-headed monster. Asia is just completely insane. And Phoenix is kind of the opposite of that. They came into the season looking like they were going to be very shallow, but have found some bench players who really have worked. But they have three legit all-star players in Kalia Copper, Alyssa Thomas, and Satu Sabali. Dewana Bonner's a decent bench scorer. Then they have a lot of also okay bodies, but those bodies I would say are kind of clearly better than Vegas's depth. I think Phoenix matches up really well. They have a ton of size. I think that they might switch the pick and roll on Asia more than, Indy was able to because of that size. They have a lot of players who I think will be able to at least match up with Asia. I don't think anyone really gives her trouble. I have a huge Phoenix future. I feel pretty good about it. I'm not going to bet on a side in this series, but if I did, I would definitely be betting on Phoenix.
All right, let's talk through then and just kind of comb through. There's a couple fun markets here on FanDuel, like series top point scorer, series most total assists, most rebounds, most threes made. Aja Wilson's like minus 1,000 as the top point scorer. If you like Phoenix in this matchup, I know you said that they're a lot more spread out while this Aces team is kind of like a basically Asia getting the ball and scoring a ton of points. Do you think that there's anyone you'd like at maybe taking a dart throw on Phoenix, like Satu Sabali at 11-1, Kalia Copper at 19-1, Alyssa Thomas 27-1 to be the top point scorer, or is it just too tough for those girls to win?
Yeah, unfortunately, I would honestly characterize the point scorer and assist markets as not fun, because those can be fun when it's like a pretty spread out market. Like rebounds and threes, I think, is a really interesting market for this series. But Asia's just going to be the top point scorer. Like I don't really see, unless she gets hurt, a path that it's not her. And Alyssa Thomas will be the top assist player in the series as well. It would be very surprising, unless, maybe after game one, if Phoenix is double teaming Asia on absolutely every touch, then you would maybe want to look at Jackie Young. And if Vegas is just not letting Alyssa Thomas pass, that one even seems less likely. But both of them, I think, are pretty much chalked to lead. Top threes is an interesting market to me. I haven't looked too much. I think Whitcomb at plus 410. I think she's a super important player for them. And if the series gets close, I think she's going to have even more and more minutes, because without her on, the spacing for Phoenix really can get tight. And I just think Akoa Makani is a player who they could really cut down the minutes if Phoenix is struggling. I think the two-woman game between Alyssa Thomas and Sammy Whitcomb really opens up Phoenix's offense. So I think Whitcomb at plus 410 stands out. And I think Jewel Lloyd plus 750. She's still getting plenty of minutes. She didn't get up that many threes last series, but plus 750 definitely is an interesting look for me there.
Yeah, it's that the threes market is a fun one where it's just need someone to just get a little bit hot, land a couple, and you're looking good for that. So Sammy Whitcomb plus 410 at FanDuel, Jewel Lloyd plus 750 at FanDuel as well. Flip over and talk finals MVP. Is it basically just Asia or Alyssa Thomas if either Phoenix or the Aces win, or could you see a path for anyone else at all?
I think you can see a path on Phoenix for specifically Satu.
Okay.
I wouldn't bet it at 11-1.
Yeah.
That's like 20% equity. I don't think it's quite that for Satu. But the thing is, Alyssa Thomas is a spectacular player, but it's possible she averages like 11 points, 12 points this series. I think her game one line is like 16.5, but she's not a huge scorer. So if Satu just, has an 7-8 point gap in points per game, you could see her winning. I don't think it would be a bet. And, if Asia gets hurt, Jackie could win, but I wouldn't want to bet that at 27. Jackie's a really good player, but you also have to factor in these markets that the tie really is going to go to the star. And Asia and Alyssa Thomas are two of the best players in this league. So unless it's an overwhelming win or an injury, those two are going to win.
Okay. All right. Makes sense there. Quickly, before I let you go here, what are your thoughts on the playoff format for the WNBA, where it's first round is 3 games, 5 games, then 7 games? Do you want to see a couple longer series? Do you think do you like the 7-game finals? Do you feel like the semifinals should be 7 games as well? What are your opinions here on that?
I like the 7-game finals. I actually really like a 5-game. I think first series and second series should be 5 games. I think that in the NBA, in a first round matchup, when it's like an 8-10 or a 1-8 series, it kind of has no juice. When it's a 4 out of 7. Like, even if the 1 seed gets upset in game 1 in a series, it's like they're gonna win. They're not gonna lose a series to a way undermatched team. But 2 out of 3, I think, leans too far into it. You really can't withstand any injury or any shooting variance. So I like 3 out of 5 early in the playoffs. But I think when you get to the finals, absolutely, it's going to be 4 out of 7. So I'm very excited to see that.
All right, awesome stuff. Yeah, it definitely opens up for more parity. Would love to see that in the NBA. A little 5-game first-round series would be a lot of fun. Kirk, appreciate you coming on. Yeah, we'll chat soon. You can follow Kirk on Twitter at KirkEvans0. And, I'll see you on Monday.
Absolutely.
Have a good one. See you, Kirk. We got to fix his camera. We got to like get over to his place, fix his camera. Cause like, it looks like he's like 4'11" in his chair.
Yeah, he's a tall guy.
He's a tall guy. No one believes me, but he's a tall guy. But yeah, he looks 4'11", and it's just I just don't understand why he does that to himself, especially on the internet.
I don't know. I've tried every time I've done a show with him, like individually. I've always made him do it, but he still doesn't know to change it.
Yeah, you'd think you just leave it the same there, but I guess not. Quickly before we head out, what are we at? We're at 14 likes. If we can just get 6 more likes on the stream, I'll give you guys something a little fun from the BetStamp Pro tool here for the Thursday night football game. Let's see what we're at right now. Can we get there? You know what? Let's just have some fun and let's just do it anyways. Let me see if I can find this. Hold on one second. There we go. All right, so we're gonna go to the San Fran LA Rams game. We're gonna go to the first half. We're gonna go to the total. We're going to take the under plus 132 of 21.5. Under 21.5 plus 132. You're welcome, guys. Hopefully we do well. Shout out to BetStamp Pro for giving that to us. And that wraps up the show here today. I see you guys all in the chat saying thank you. Great show as always. Thank you for being a great chat. As always, reminder before you head out, smash the like button. Goes a long way for us here on the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button as well. And if you want to get notified every time we go live, hit that notification bell. We are live Monday to Friday, noon Eastern, every single weekday. So make sure you're hitting that notification bell, because then we've got other videos coming out, and like the George video coming out 5 p.m. tonight. You're going to know when it comes out just by the notification on your phone. So do that, okay? Just do that. Pro tip, do that. What do we have on deck for the Hammer for the rest of the week? We have Circles Off video coming up at 1 p.m. Reminder, if you want to have a Q&A, comment on this video down below or tweet at us. A couple other things you can do. Yeah, there we go. Respond, comment section down below. Email us or hit the Discord and ask questions in the Circle Off Q&A channel. Circles Off video today. GRP Gone Wild finale. Best bets with Rob, 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Don't forget that. Then our Thursday night football watch along, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Myself, George, Alex. Going to be watching the game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow, we have a great crew of guests, of course, as always, like he always is on the Thursday show. We'll be with Jeff Nadeau. I'm going to ask him about pumpkin spice. It's October now, pumpkin spice season. I think he's a pumpkin spice guy, and I've never had one before. Maybe I'll get one before the show and let you guys know.
You never had pumpkin spice?
Nope.
Neither have I, but I don't like coffee, so.
Well, you're going to have to bite the bullet, and we're going to try. We're going to do a live
I'm
live
not
taste
sure.
test.
I'll do a little shot of yours.
Yeah, there we go. George, G-Stack George is going to be on the show as well. We're going to be talking Survivor. He had to flip to Friday. Sorry, he had to flip from Friday to Thursday. Then finally Hitman, closing out the show, talking some Thursday night football. That is a loaded guest, by the way. Loaded guest list. Make sure you tune in to that tomorrow. And that wraps it up for us here today on the Hammer Daily. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, last time I'm going to ask this, smash the like button on the way up. Goes a long way for us here on the channel. This has been the Hammer Daily, October 1st edition on the Hammer Betting Network, presented by FanDuel. We will see you guys tomorrow.